Hello, Eric. It's so lovely
Hi,
that you're joining us online, and it's wonderful to see your face in real life, not just a picture of you.
and you too. Fabulous.
Yeah, so it's lovely to meet a fellow healer, teacher, mentor, coach, like all of the things in one. And I'm sure
Absolutely.
there's much more that you do, but that's why we are having this interview, right?
Of course, absolutely right.
Okay, so Eric, first of all, I did a little bit of stalking
Okay.
on your Facebook page,
Yes.
and I see that we share the love of a poet called John Rudall,
Oh, okay.
who just has all the words, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the what he always embodies is just letting people just feel what they need to feel. Don't try and
Yeah,
fix me. Don't try and do that. And I'm sure that is kind of what you do in your business. So I want to
absolutely.
know, what
Mm.
is theta transformation in your words?
All right. So Theta Transformation is one of my businesses. Um, it's it actually used to be called Theta Healing South Africa, and then it kind of evolved into Theta Transformation. And basically, through theta transformation, I offer a range of theta healing courses that are internationally certified. So they're not courses that I personally have developed. People that do courses with me, there are different levels within theta healing. And then obviously one could do, a course with somebody else later on. So they're courses that are focused on the theta healing technique, which is a beautiful healing technique that was developed by Vianna Steibel in America. Um, so many of the modalities seem to have been created in America for some reason. And she actually developed this technique quite some time ago, over 20 years ago, where the practitioners are trained to go into the theta brainwave state, connect with the divine, and then witness healing of belief programs, the pulling of psychic hooks, the release of soul fragments, the activation of the DNA, this type of thing.
Mm.
Uh, so it's quite a it's a fabulous technique in that it deals with all levels of who a person is. The subconscious, the conscious, the spiritual aspects of who they are, and their relationship with the divine, however they might see that. So that is what theta transformation is in a
That sounds
nutshell. And
incredible. I mean,
it's incredible. And, in the past, we used to only work in South Africa, of course, and then the pandemic hit. And at that stage, we were kind of permitted, if you like, to get some additional training from Vianna or one of the senior people that work with her to learn how to do the certification training courses online. And that's been fantastic because, if you can't visit a country, to be able to meet people from that country in the meantime is just wonderful. And so
yeah.
I've been blessed over the last few years to work with people. Um, Theta healing, I think, is in over 200 countries. I'm not sure, but I've certainly worked with people in over 26 countries, which has
That's
been
amazing.
amazing.
So you've
Yeah.
kind of got a global love bubble that you're working in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's quite fun. I get quite excited. I taught a theta healing class, one of the classes, because there are a number of different classes, and some of them have prerequisites, depending on what you've done before and so on. And last week I had someone from the Philippines, and the little boy in me, was like so excited because I'd never had someone from the Philippines work with me for 5 days. And it was like, yay!
Yeah.
It opened up the ability to work with people and to learn from them as well. Although we've got the structured curriculum, and a lot of it is about intuition, developing your psychic skills, releasing all these blocks to who you truly are and your true self and so on. Of course, as an instructor, as a teacher, as a coach, we also learn from the people that we work with, and they're
Yes.
fascinating. So it's wonderful.
And I love the dynamic always. You can never prepare for the container that arrives, that you
That's
simply
right.
climb into, and then this thing just happens.
Well,
So
that's it. The, the,
yeah.
the curriculum is pretty standard, but the experiences, their examples,
Mm,
we obviously, in a theta healing class, we always have breakout rooms, where people work with each other. They have to
yes,
pretend to be the client or the practitioner and work on each other.
yes.
And yeah, that's always completely new. And it depends on the group that's present, how that goes, So it's amazing. It's really, really interesting.
So in your experience, did a lot of your personal healing come from being a student of theta?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In my late 20s, I actually had mononucleosis, or what they call yuppie flu.
Yes.
And I remember at the time I was doing a master's in education. I was lecturing at Wits University. I was still a boarding master at a local boys' high school. And the doctors said to me, "Oh, well, you're going to be exhausted for the next 2 years." And that kind of launched my healing journey, where I kind of said, no, I'm not going to buy into that. Something's going to happen. And I started looking for, I guess, my tribe. It took some time to find theta healing because it wasn't yet in South Africa, and the internet was really only at that stage opening up. And I actually still found it via a magazine, funnily enough.
Wow.
Um, but once I found theta healing and started that particular journey, yeah, a lot of my healing, a lot of my personal transformation, just it happened for me because I began to see so much more clearly what I had been doing to block myself, keeping myself in fear, keeping myself out of alignment with abundance, just through these belief programs and these feelings. And as you know, so many of them are not really ours, so to speak. We've inherited them. They part of the genetics already. They past life stuff. They come to us just through the programming that we're exposed to in schools. And I was already aware of a lot of this because having been a lecturer in education, I was very conscious of the way in which we can't just tell people to change. Um, that there's something much deeper required for people to change.
Yeah.
And
Not cognitive always.
exactly. So, engaging with the subconscious, engaging with these programs, that was for me a turning point, you know.
That's amazing because I was about to ask you, we all come from somewhere, we all have a background
Yes.
and
Yeah.
our previous lives before we made the turning point to kind of step into the healing version of ourselves or the facilitator version of ourselves.
Yes.
When would you say, what would you say was your pivotal moment for you to really go, this is what I want to do full time?
Okay. Um, so it's really, really interesting. When I look back at who I was when I started this full time, I feel like it was almost a different Eric. By that stage, I was the director of a charity. The charity was doing most amazing work. We were using interactive theater to influence behavior change. And we were seeing wonderful things happening in the schools and the prisons and so on, where we took the theater. But we were struggling to raise funds for the charity. That was the first part of it. And I kept on thinking, it can't be this difficult. Like, why is it this difficult to kind of manifest money? Obviously, by that stage, I was reading up on law of attraction and all of these types of things. And long story short, I was actually going on holiday to London, and I realized that there was going to be this theta healing class, and it was happening while I was in London. And it mentioned these kinds of issues, and I just thought, well, why not enroll on this particular class and just see how it goes? And maybe I can learn something from that class that will help me raise money and cope with the stress of running a charity in a South African context. And all the doors opened. I mean, if there was any fear within me about doing that course, the universe kind of said, no, you're going to be doing it, because all the doors opened. I was on that course. I was given a scholarship to to the class so that I could stay at the teacher's bed and breakfast at no, at no additional cost, and so on and so forth. So it all just kind of flowed. And when I came back to South Africa and I was practicing these techniques, I just thought the one day, this is changing so much within me. I can incorporate some of this at the charity, but I'm going to have to work with people in the charity as well.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this to the rest of the board one day, just in conversation at a board meeting, how my holiday had gone and what I had learned and, this beautiful theta healing technique. And they said, no, well, feel free. We're about intervention. We're about trying to understand how to influence behavior change. If you've got something that you can do with them privately, personally, individually, that would help them, then feel free. If the staff are open to it, let them do it. And long story short, I'm trying to keep it succinct. I worked with one of the ladies in the charity who was assisting me with fundraising. And I was doing some energy testing of belief programs, and it was all poverty consciousness. It was all around, no, we can't get money. There are too many charities. There's not enough money to go around. And we were an award-winning charity. So I said to her, well, this is not making sense. We've been, selected as the most innovative project in South Africa. Why do you think we're not going to get money? And of course, it was genetic stuff and, stuff from the community and a lot of kind of scarcity consciousness. And we changed some of those belief programs with her, brought them into her awareness, because part of theta healing is to identify them, see what you're learning from them. Are you getting virtues? Are you mastering particular virtues? Change some of those. And she suddenly felt so much lighter and so much more hopeful and very excited. And when I did some energy testing later, she had moved into abundance consciousness. We submitted an application to our national lottery for 11 million rand. We got it to the cent.
I love it. And you answered it as well. Like, thank you. We'll take 11.
Yes. So that answered exactly. So that answers your question, because after that I was really challenged. My soul said to me, it's time to move on. It's time to start doing this kind of work more full time, because I'd obviously seen the benefits within myself. Mm-hmm. Now I'd seen the benefit within the charity, which, at the end of the day, I'd hoped to see. And so, yeah, we worked out a kind of a plan so that I wouldn't just abandon the charity. And initially, the charity actually allowed me to work a 4-day week, so that I could train staff up and make sure that they could take over the work. And on the 5th day, I was doing theta healing sessions and, starting to teach and so on. So that was really a huge kind of turning point. And it was really just maybe, I often say that the people we work with will only believe it when they see it, But of course, that was also an example of, well, you'll see it when you believe it.
Exactly. And there's so many similar stories that I've heard where people just reach a point where now they have to step out in faith and actually just do it. Just do the thing that they've been called to do. And then there's like this breakthrough that happens that they can carry on and sort of widen into that new field.
Well, the interesting thing, of course, is that because I was the director and a member of the board, people were really shocked when I said that I was going to be leaving to do theta healing South Africa, that I was going to be running these courses. And I think this was in 2009, 2010, so quite some time ago. And I remember at the time thinking, well, I actually only want to attract the right people. So when I even set up my website, I made sure everybody knew this is psychic development. Theta healing rests on the idea that everyone is connected to the divine, that it's not just the parlance of one religion. Because I thought, well, that way, it'll almost serve as a gatekeeper and only let the ones through that resonated. And that's, you know, what happened subsequently. I mean, I've worked with the most beautiful South Africans, and as I say now, internationally as well, since then.
Well, it's
And
quite a
it's much more
testimony.
interesting. It's much more interesting than just being a manager or a director of a charity, which sometimes gets really lonely.
Yeah.
You kind of feel sometimes like you're a glorified secretary.
Right.
And of course, my background's in education. I was a qualified school teacher. So I actually wanted to get into the work of teaching again, you know,
Yeah.
facilitating growth and so on.
Real meat of the issue.
That's it.
What
That's
you
it.
love and what you're in flow with. And
Yeah,
you know, just what I was hearing earlier as well is that, you know, you get to a point of complete resistance before you make your breakthrough. So for many, they have to climb right to the top of the mountain before, you know, they get to the thing that they want. And so many people quit halfway up, you know,
that's
before they
it.
even got there. So growth is not comfortable.
No,
Sorry.
absolutely. And you know, there were times in the charity where I wouldn't have a salary, you know, prior to manifesting that big grant.
Yeah.
Because I always felt like the people we were working with were not professional actors. They were, you know, part of the charity's mission was to actually work with people from the townships to empower them with skills.
Mm.
And so I would always think to myself, well, I'm okay. I'll be okay without a salary for the month. But it was part of the training, I think, to become a spiritual entrepreneur. Because, like I say to people now, you're not always going to get paid every month. You know, that's just the disadvantage of giving up a salaried job. So I had that kind of little bit of training, if you like. Of course, I learned a lot while I was at the charity about finance and marketing and all sorts of tools and techniques that I never had to learn when I was in education or as a lecturer or school teacher. So I think Spirit also had its plan in mind, and it was like, okay, let's take Eric through, you know, 5 years of preparation.
Business 101.
Absolutely. And of course, the board would say, oh, okay, there's a marketing course on at whatever institution. We think you need to do it. And I mean, I still draw on all those skills that I learned. So I'm very grateful for that time. You know, it was a wonderful time. But it
So,
was not easy. You're absolutely right. And
I
of
hear
course,
you,
it has
friend.
not always been easy since then either.
I hear you. I myself made an exit from corporate 7 years ago, and it's been the
Oh,
roughest
wow.
7 years of my life, but also the most
Yes,
expensive and most delicious. So
absolutely.
I get it. I totally get it. And yes, a monthly paycheck. Oh, that would be
Ah,
really beautiful.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So having said that, you know, is there a leader or a mentor or a coach that you follow that you go, wow, that's my benchmark. That's where I want to be?
Yeah. You know, I have an interest. I mean, my other businesses evolved with Eric, which kind of Spirit prompted me to start quite a few years ago, and I didn't, right? So I would just occasionally put my foot into the water and produce a course that was mine, you know, based like my teachings and not based in Vienna Steipel's theta healing teachings. And obviously that's a very set modality with particular techniques and copyrights and what have you. So when I think of your question, I just think of so many people that do inspire me that I kind of look to. Neil Donald Walsh is actually one of them. I was so blessed to go on a retreat with him a few years ago, about 7 years ago, and it was a 5-day retreat in Spain. What a blessing. And it was just wonderful. So I love his work. I like Ayanla van Zandt. I've been to one of her events before and it was fantastic. Gary Zukav is quite inspirational to me. You know, there are quite a few, but I find that depending on what I am being prompted to create, because I love creating workshops as part of my Evolve with Eric program, I will do a lot of research. I'll find out who the experts are in that field and then try and come up with something that's new, unique, inspired, channeled, you know, that maybe meets a particular need outside of what's already there.
Now I'm getting really curious because I want to go like, I want to check Eric's human design quickly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd love to like go take a peek and find all those things in your yummy chart. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm a creator. What are they called? generator. What's the word? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
me too. I'm also.
Mm.
So,
And I'm a pioneer, so I think that I get very bored, to be honest, as a spiritual being if I'm not creating and helping people to create the lives that they want. So the people that always inspire me, that I deeply admire, are people who've somehow transformed their own lives and helped others to do that, and not just at a face value, but at a real deep
yeah,
level.
I call them ripple makers.
Absolutely.
What they do
Absolutely.
has such a ripple effect on so many.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely it. Yeah.
So there's always a
The
few
cycle
questions.
breakers, I love the
Yeah,
cycle.
disruptors.
Yes,
Yeah.
the disruptors.
Mhm.
I did a master's in philosophy of education, so I've always been drawn to, the people who are slightly critical of the status quo and how things work. And yeah, I've been called an idealist at times, and I guess I am. And that's been an obstacle, by the way, on
Okay.
my journey to be a spirit-led entrepreneur, because sometimes the idealist has to remember the practicalities.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of courses subsequently to equip me with skills. With skills. Sorry, I'm forever learning new information on like running a business.
Mm.
How to make it more expansive and so on. Plus healing myself and helping others. It's a lot that we do, you and I.
There is. And I mean, always that, our foundations are strong because whoever we work with, we have an area that we've researched that we're able to meet them, like
Absolutely.
properly, not just fluff.
That's it. That's
Um,
it. I mean,
so
one thing that people don't know about me, for example, is I'm not just trained in theta healing, although that's what I focus on that, on theta transformation. Evolve with Eric maybe draws on more of who I am, more authentic part of who I am in some ways.
yeah.
That, in the sense that allows me to draw on what I've learned from magnified healing or quantum touch, or as a life coach or an ordained metaphysical minister, insights that I've learned from other courses that I've done. And that's wonderful.
That's amazing to bring all that into your authentic expression, because as we know, authenticity is kind of like the highest vibration we can possibly
Absolutely.
be, where we resonate with our clients the most is just
Absolutely.
that version of ourselves. We've taken all the little bits and pieces, we've made it into something that's our own, and off we go. What would you say are your key, if you had to give advice to somebody who's starting a spirit-led business or who's thinking about really stepping into this full time, what would you say are your key indicators for success, besides needing to be authentic?
Of course. No, of course. I reflected on this last week when somebody joined in my class who I first worked with 14 years ago. And that to me showed one of the success indicators. It's the relationships that we build where the clients or the students that work with us return, sometimes after years.
Yeah.
Or other people come to us that they have referred to us.
Yeah.
So for me, that it's not always the finances. One of the indicators is definitely the return rate and the referral rate, and how can you increase that? But also just positive feedback. I always encourage clients and students of mine who've done any of the courses, whether they're theta healing or anything else that I might be offering, to provide that, to give me feedback, to actually suggest what I might do differently next time. And I do use that as well, especially if they say, well, they're closer to fulfillment, they're feeling happier, they found the relationship of their dreams, they've changed jobs, things that they've been stuck with for years, now suddenly have completely disappeared. They don't even remember that them having been a problem before. They're not always these tangible indicators that normal business people use. Sometimes it's the sense of just, I've had an impact, and it's the fulfillment that the people have. you know, or they come back and, because we do healing as well, physical healing, they might come back and they might say, well, Eric, guess what? The asthma's gone. That's pretty much amazing. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a tangible thing, but sometimes it's just a sense of well-being that they just feel happier, more authentic, more alive.
I have a good giggle because, and this is true for most people that I know that are like stepping full time into their healing practice, is that
Yes.
when the client doesn't come back, it means they've done their job well. And then you bump into them 6 months later and they go, you won't believe how amazing that session was, but you've never heard from them again. And you
That's
go,
it.
I really thought like nothing happened, but then look at them and their whole life has changed. I mean,
Absolutely.
the number of kinesiology babies I see on the road is something else.
Yeah.
People are pregnant after they haven't felt pregnant for so long, as an example, but then they don't like bring it back to what actually happened for them.
Absolutely.
So there's like, that's
You know,
fine. Sometimes I just
that
go,
raises for me, I mean, that raises for me one of the obstacles that I've encountered in this journey. So when I became a life coach as well, you know, once I kind of equipped myself with those tools, people would often say, oh, you need to sell a package. And I remember in the beginning thinking, no, I don't really want to do package deals because I work with the assumption that someone might come to me once and that's it. And that should be okay. So I always try and find out, well, what is the need of the client? Do they actually feel they need 4 or 5 sessions? You know, if there's a financial discount I can offer them by letting them have 4 or 5 sessions, then that's something we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But I remember in the beginning, I was fairly resistant when people would say, oh, offer a 1-year package. And I'd be, 1 year?
I know.
You know, if they're going to work me like for a whole year, then how effective am I, or how effective are the tools I'm using?
Exactly. And I get that too. And I've been with high-tech coaches who've tried to coach me into these massive packages, and I'm going, I don't know if I want to work with someone for so long. I want them to be like self-empowered, and off they go.
Absolutely.
You know?
And this is the exciting thing is looking at former clients and students of mine who've actually gone on to become like theta healing instructors.
Yes.
Like Nia Nell, you know, the singer.
Yes.
I mean, she's done so well with her theta healing as well. That's also for me a success indicator. That someone along the way, someone who's done quite a few courses with me, then wanted to actually teach the stuff because it had made such an impact in their own lives, that they wanted to get the license to teach the material. That's also quite nice.
That's beautiful validation. So
and also it means let's release them, you know, let's release them. If that's their authentic truth and their future, their divine timing to become teachers, let's not see them as competition. You know, that's something that I always used to say in the beginning days. We can never have too many coaches, healers, teachers, especially on the earth at this time, you know.
Well, my husband often says that we are pioneers. So the more people that are pioneering, the more humankind will join.
Absolutely.
So there's just like this untapped resource of future clients just waiting to connect with us.
Absolutely. And we have to sound our note, you know. We have to kind of, I always talk about, like, I'm sure you've heard it, you know, broadcast your note out into the universe in the same way that, you know, a radio station broadcasts its note.
Yes.
So that they can kind of find you, you know.
Eric, some people might want to know, what does a typical session look like with you?
Okay. So my typical sessions are based in theta healing. So my one-on-one sessions are theta healing sessions with a little bit of coaching when necessary. We would begin with a conversation as to what is it that they wish to achieve. And it's normally something that they want to manifest differently. So it might be health, wealth, a relationship, a new job, whatever it is. I would then go into an energy scan with my client, where I will intuitively connect with their energy, not just their chakras, but the actual subconscious mind, by stepping into their body, so to speak. We kind of go in as the light, if you like, and illuminate all the darkness within the body, what the body perceives to be dark, right? And those might be the blocks that we need to bring into the awareness. And then through a kind of digging process where we ask some really good questions, they're all intuitively led questions, they're not standard. So every session would be different. We begin to trace what limiting programs are kind of affecting the client, that are currently blocking them from manifesting the future that they actually desire. And sometimes it's because they're so attached to that future that sometimes we actually literally have to say, well, what if this is as good as it gets? Not everyone is going to somehow miraculously heal cancer. Would be wonderful, but it might not be the case. That it might be part of a soul's contract to experience cancer, to learn certain things. And so sometimes the questions we ask are also confronting the reality and whether or not they can trust the universe in the here and the now. And that's how we begin to identify the limiting belief programs, dig under them. Where do they come from? How do they serve them? Those kinds of questions. And very gently guide them to some kind of an understanding. Well, what do you want to do with these programs? Or, do you want to let them go? And sometimes the subconscious will say no. The conscious mind says, yes, I'd love to let it go. But the subconscious, and that's of course where we come in because we're connected to them and to the divine, might say, well, it feels like you've not quite reached the point where you're ready to let it go. What would it take? What do you feel you're learning from this? And that often happens with struggle, with people being in struggle or in toxic environments, and rather the devil you know than the devil you don't know. Those comfort zones. And
Yes.
so part of my session would be to get them also to be aware of how the different aspects within themselves might be working to sabotage themselves, for example. And then we'll do the healing work with their permission, enabling them to reach some kind of alignment, and then get them onto that kind of future path that they really desire, but the one that's much more in keeping with their soul, with their authentic self. Because sometimes people will say that, oh, well, I had one man I have to just share quickly who said to me, he would like to manifest a future where all women find him sexy. And I remember at the time saying, but why? What is the point of that? Let's unpack that. And of course, it was going to be a confidence booster. It was going to make him feel wonderful. But I said, there's never going to be a future where we can make all women find you sexy, because there's free will, and on this planet, some women will and some women won't. And of course, some women are same-sex attracted anyway. So they're not going to find any man sexy necessarily. And so then we needed to change limiting beliefs around his own self-esteem, self-love, self-worth.
Yeah.
But we do it in a very gentle way so that they don't feel like they've been interrogated. As we go along, I mean, just to say, we also would be releasing, using other processes, releasing psychic hooks or entities or, whatever else might just be blocking them from being in alignment, or, something that is blocking energy from flowing freely through them. And then we get them downloads. So one of the beautiful parts of theta healing is being able to bring in new feelings, or feelings that they haven't experienced for some time. And they can feel them instantly there and then in that moment. We've got a beautiful process. We've been taught to do that, so straight away, they know what it feels like to giggle, for example, if that's something they haven't done for years. It's really beautiful to see. But the trauma, all of these things stored in the body, I mean, is taking up space. So we've got to clear out that space, all the places within their body, just to allow this energy to flow and these new kind of installations to come in, the frequencies they desire, which are more in keeping with the future or their divine timing, the real reason why they're on the planet at the end of the day.
Yeah. So you're allowing, so essentially what I'm hearing is you're allowing the light to shine the little dark areas. Once you've shone a light on them, they kind of just, they're seen now. You can work with them. You're aware of them. Once they're in your consciousness, it kind of, you're able to just integrate and work and release.
Absolutely. And use the techniques to release those. And of course, there will be times when we work with, you know, the part of them that is very much involved in survival self, or the inner child, or, you know, all those types of things. And sometimes we have to have conversation with the higher self, because the client might be so out of alignment with the higher self. They might be so out of alignment with their eternal molecules, what we believe are the eternal molecules, that it's almost like they've left the planet and they're just kind of, you know, going about. But it's like, well, where are you? You know, like, we need to bring your soul back here into the here and the now. But I mean, if it's post-trauma, I suppose from our perspective, we also have compassion, that's a defense mechanism, you know.
And so that kind of disconnection I've experienced too, where it almost felt to me like that person was like on a tether out in space, attached to like the satellite, you know, like just not connected with themselves at all.
Absolutely.
But the beautiful thing is, in those sessions, like you offer, at the very minimum, they're going to feel lighter, brighter,
absolutely,
more
absolutely
together.
And it's love, you know. I mean, I think we're all working with the frequency of unconditional love.
Yes.
But like with me, sometimes the client will work with me because they see me as being a spiritual leader or a spiritual teacher of some sort. And their experience with religion might have been harmful. And they kind of want to improve their relationship with the divine. And that's also beautiful to see when they kind of start healing some of the stuff, you know, that they've picked up along the way about God, but it's not really about God. It's just what they've been taught about God. You know, it's not really about source. And for them to begin for themselves to discern higher truth, and I'm not telling it to them. I'm just helping them access it for themselves, or their own intuition, or their own psychic abilities. You know, obviously some clients want that. That's wonderful to see as well.
Yes.
You know, to be part of that journey is amazing.
Don't you sometimes wish you could take a photo of when they come in and then when they leave?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
The radiance that you sometimes experience, like, oh, can't make that. I'm going to say it, can't make that shit up.
Absolutely. But don't you also find that sometimes, like, by the end of the session, you forgot how you got there, because you as the practitioner are just so in flow. And then the client says, what did we do? And you're like, I have no idea. Did it work? Oh, it worked. That's all that matters. I was just in flow.
How does this work? And I go, I don't know. I just know it works.
It does. It just does. Exactly. Absolutely.
Okay, Eric, so what we're going to do is we're going to drop all your details in the post that we're going to post now about you, so that clients can hook up with you. But let me know, who's your ideal client? What is the like bowl, the common thread that you see?
Well, I think we've covered it. For me, my ideal client is someone who is tired of living a lie. Someone who feels that they've been wearing just one too many masks, that they're just going about their day-to-day lives without any degree of fulfillment or peace. Someone who's ready to access their true self, to align with their true self, their authentic self, who wants to improve relationships, either with the divine or other people, maybe even get a soulmate into their lives. Someone who's just tired of the baggage weighing them down, literally physically solidifying in their body as illness. That kind of person who is willing to step forward and wants meaningful change. That's my ideal client. That person who doesn't need me to spend any length of time trying to convince them to do alternative healing. You know, they are just ready. They've tried everything and they're just like, I'm ready. And you can feel it in their energy. They are ready, you know, and they want someone who can see them without the secrets, you know, someone who's medically intuitive or psychic or whatever, multidimensional being, who can see them as they truly are and know that they are going to be held in a safe space with no judgment. You know, that they're just beliefs, they're just emotions, they're just experiences. and so what?
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of my ideal client. They don't have to let their guard down. That's my job to make it safe for them to do that, you know, to support them, to inspire them, to really give them what they need to feel empowered. But everyone's got blocks, you know, so it's pointless for me to say, oh, you're blocking me. No, we need to use our ability to see what's really going on here. So it's the client who's ready to find what's really going on, what's blocking them, and is ready for the next step, you know, to take that next step forward.
Brilliant. What I'm really grateful for is you having spent this time with us, for you being able to put your note out into the universe, because the more we think about it, the more we, you know, the people that are needing to connect with us hear about us and connect with us. So thank you for that.
You're most welcome.
And we shall see soon how.
All right. Awesome.
Just give us a little tiny hint of what your big dream is going ahead. What is one of the big things you want to do?
Okay, so tiny hint is I would love to expand my team. I kind of feel at the moment that I'm a one-man show. I'm ready for the next step. It's taken me a while to get there. I'm ready to expand my team, whatever that might mean, to get bigger, to grow bigger, to go even more global, and to make more of an impact through what's been channeled by me as well.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm on the planet, you know. So I think the next chapter may involve a book and hopefully a lot more podcasts. And that would be fantastic.
That sounds very juicy and delicious for this lifetime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Time to grow the team, time to get more, to get my notes sounded more often in more places with more follow-up. And it does require, of course, some more healing on myself, because so many healers are a little bit afraid of visibility. There's always a little bit, you know.
100%. I do not know one that is not afraid of being, you know, seen fully. So we'll keep each other real. Okay, so we'll from Cosmic Soul side, from the Nicoletta my side, we'll keep you visible. Don't you worry.
Absolutely. And I mean, just to say, I love theta healing. It's absolutely wonderful, and I will always keep doing it. But I do feel that there's something coming through Evolve with Eric, which is new and exciting. And already, you know, I've done a lot of workshops already there, but something new is coming. And I know whatever it is going to be pretty huge. That's what I'm feeling. So that's exciting.
Can't wait to see it.
Good. Thank you
so much, Eric. And we're going to say bye-bye, and hopefully the right ones will come connect with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for this opportunity. Bye. Bye.